So I think it's 1:30, and we do have a quorum present. Mr. Secretary, is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. First item on our agenda today is House Bill 106. This is a lot of technical corrections in this bill. This is a strike-all that we are using much of the same language that we passed in the Senate bill. I will tell you that Section 1 deals with the inmate welfare fund. These are funds that are generated by the prisoners and the sales at the prison. And we're going to, this is all special funds, no general fund authority. This will allow them to spend up to $6 million on reentry programs and additional inmate welfare programs. Section 2 and Section 3 deal with the comp buyback. We already passed the comp buyback for the Department of Health. Section 2 includes the Department of Employment Security. I have obtained the information that I was requesting as it relates to the additional work that they may be doing from January 1 of this year through June 30th. You may recall that previously we passed this last year for the end of the calendar year. There is I have looked at the work they've been doing at Unemployment Security Office, and also with potentially a new stimulus package coming. There's going to be a lot of work to be done in that area. So this would allow them to buy comp time back up to an amount not to exceed $900,000. Section, and by the way, all these are federal funds. Section 4 is technical correction to one of the Gulf Coast Restoration Fund items that had been listed as Jackson County. We changed that to Jackson County Economic Development Foundation. Section 5 deals with, again, technical changes as it relates to BP Settlement Fund dollars that we had in last year's bill. One of those was in Tippah County for the, instead of construction, but the destruction of an old hospital. Also another one in Tippah County for a park that was originally Tippah County. It should have been the city of Ripley. And then the other one was in Pike County. It should have gone to the Richards Center in Pike County. Section 6 is the, we've already passed this bill. It's the State Fire Academy fund, setting up a special program fund for them. They've received money from the Planning and Development District. Those funds will be placed in a separate fund for their use in training programs. Section 7 also changes and codifies those agencies that had been switched back from general fund to special fund agencies. I'm sorry, special funds to general fund agencies, excuse me. This bill does show that it's effective upon passage. Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Motion, title sufficient to pass, strike all. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Moving on to House Bill 109. This is just a straight strike all from what we've already done. This is our transfer bill. It's the same language we've already passed, and nothing new in here. This just is the vehicle that we utilize to transfer funds transfer dollars between the various funds that are set up. So when we get to the end of session, we've got the vehicle available to do that. I'll yield for questions if there are none. Motion is title sufficient to pass, strike all. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is House Bill 424, and actually, Senator Branning, we've got 5 highways bills in a row, and I'll leave it up to you. If you'd like to take those up in block, we can do that, or if you want to describe them individually, I'll leave that up to you.
Mr. Chairman, my motion is that we take up House Bill 424, House Bill 872, House Bill 887, and House Bill 995 in block.
You heard the motion to take up House Bills 424, 872, 887, and 995 in block. Any of those that any member would like to pull? If not, the motion, all in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Senator Branning, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 424 is to designate a segment of Highway 44 in Marion County as the T.L. Wallace Memorial Highway. And I believe there's some other language in this bill that was added in the House for other people, other House members, a couple of U.S. Marshals from across the state too, and all the unanimous resolutions are in the file. on this one. And then moving to House Bill 872, this is a Jefferson County highway that they want to name Highway Patrol Lieutenant Troy Morris Memorial Highway. House Bill 887, this is going to be Webster County Corporal William Justin Cooper Memorial Highway. This particular bill, we added a reverse repealer because I did have a question about the length of the highway. It's around 8 miles, which is not typically what we see. And so Chairman Busby and I are communicating about that, and we agree that we want to get this in conference and be sure that we make this one comparable to most of the other memorial highways in the state, just out of fairness. And then House Bill 995 is to designate in Marshall County a portion of the highway there after Representative Tommy Woods. Be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, the motion is title sufficient to pass.
Okay, you've heard the explanations of those bills. Anybody have any questions for Senator Branning? And the motion would be, let me check on one thing on 887. Is that a strike all? Okay. The motion would be on items 424, 872, and 995. Title sufficient do pass. All in favor say aye. Opposed nay. The ayes have it. And on Bill 887, the motion would be title sufficient to pass. Strike all. Senator Branning.
So moved.
Any questions about the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Senator Branning. Now you want to go back to House Bill 576.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 576 addresses and updates the method for determining funding under the LSBP program by using condition rating instead of sufficiency rating, and you can see that on lines 37 through 41, and also using number and size of bridges in the funding formula as opposed to just the road mileage. Really, in layman terms, what this is doing is revising our funding formula to the federal standard. And this really puts us in line to be able to receive the federal funds as well as the LSBP funds, and this puts counties in a better position to maximize our funds to get those bridge projects completed. And that is a simple explanation, but I am happy to yield for any questions that any of the committee members may have.
Questions, committee members? Senator Hill.
Is this in any way going to maybe enhance funds going to counties that have not maintained their roads and bridges in a disproportionate way to counties that have done a good job maintaining their roads and bridges?
I think the point is not to penalize those counties that have done a good job. In other words, it's going to equalize them, because right now we're looking at the sufficiency rating, and because a lot of the bridges have now been repaired, things don't look the same as they did when this program was implemented. And the federal government realized that in 2012 is when they changed their standard. So now it's created a funding gap where federal funds are available to some LSBP projects where our state funds are not available. So
okay.
That doesn't make sense. So we're trying to equalize that to allow more counties and municipalities with the LSBP projects there the ability to get the funds and get the projects to completion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Senator Turner Ford, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry for speaking now, but I knew you couldn't see me. Does this bill have any connection to the ERBR projects or any other bills that have passed out of the Senate or the House this session?
Let me just speak to this bill. This doesn't directly affect the ERBRF program, but I will say that those monies have been utilized to enhance some bridge projects. I think those monies have also impacted, well, I know they've impacted the number of bridges that we have that remain deficient. In other words, they've helped decrease that. We've had more monies available to make bridge repair, so that's why we really need to look at changing this formula to the federal standard. Now, to further answer your question about, any bills that we have passed, whether they have affected the emergency road and bridge program, if you will allow me to double check, I don't want to speak out of turn. I'll do a little research for you and get back to you with a real solid answer as soon as I can.
And I think based on my understanding of the explanation, is it indeed a fact that each county is going to receive funding under this program?
Well, I think the intent is to level the playing field so that more of the counties are eligible. And I've got some pretty detailed information here that I can provide to you that will show you the funding as it currently exists and the result of that once the formula is changed, if you'd like that. I think I can gather some information that's specific for your district if you'd like for me to do that.
I guess my question relates more to line 72,
Okay.
which refers to funds being allocated using a percentage as those funds become available. So how will any priority be determined, if any?
Okay, I think maybe I better understand what you're going after. So the change has moved, and you'll see line 74 through 81, half of the funds are going to be on the proportion that the total number of bridges in the county compared to all the other bridges statewide, and the second half, the square footage of the deck area. Those are the changes. So all the counties are going to have access to some part of the funding, but how much is going to depend on these two factors, on how many bridges they have, within the county per se, and then the deck area of those bridges.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions? If not,
Title sufficient, do pass.
the motion is title sufficient, do pass. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Skip 1047, move to House Bill 1123, and I will call on Senator DeBar to explain that bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 1123, House Bill 1123 is the Early Learning Collaborative Act that we have passed already. The strike-all is basically the mirror bill of Senate Bill 2664, which Senator Wiggins authored, and we passed out of our floor earlier this session. So all it is a strike-all regarding ELCs and just putting in the procedural measures for evidence-based curriculum, and it has no appropriations in it, and I'll yield for any questions if there are any.
Anybody have any questions, Senator DeBar?
If there are none, I move for title sufficient, do pass, strike all.
Motion is title sufficient, do pass, strike all. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That bill will be reported. Next, House Bill 1179, and Senator DeBar, I'll call on you for that one as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1179 is the William Winter and Jack Reed Teacher Loan Repayment Program. This is, strike all is the mirror bill to Senate Bill 2305, which is Senator Blunt's bill that we had passed out earlier this session. That does have a reverse repealer in it. This is a loan repayment program versus a loan forgiveness program. And so it basically allows for repayment to critical and non-critical teacher areas, over several years. And so it's, like I said, it's a mirror bill to one we passed earlier this session. And with that, I'll yield for any questions.
Any questions about House Bill 1179?
If there are none, I move title sufficient, do pass, strike all.
Motion is title sufficient, do pass, strike all. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next, we will move to House Bill 1231, and I'll welcome to our committee Senator Whaley, who will give us a presentation on this Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. Senator, if you would, just move over there to the podium so they can hear you at home.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today we have House Bill 1231 on hopefully its last stop of the day. What this would do is it would create a special fund designated as the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund, which has an annual cap at $20 million. The monies from this fund would be used by DFA upon an appropriation from the legislature. These funds could be used for things like improving the state parks, outdoor features and trails, providing funds to counties and municipalities for municipal or county parks to acquire new land for parks or to improve on the ones that are existing, restoration, or enhancement of wetlands, native forests, native grasslands, things that we would say is, outdoor conservation, habitat improvement, acquisition of critical areas surrounding existing state parks, wildlife management areas, or existing municipal parks. The monies would have to be expended on the projects within 2 years. If they're not, they would go right back into the state budget. The board itself would be a ex officio board of the state forester, the director of the Soil and Water Conservation Commission, director of DMR, director of MDWFP, the commissioner of Ag and Commerce, with an additional 4 members appointed by the governor and 3 appointed by the lieutenant governor. And this bill been worked on very hard the last few weeks, and we realize that it's not the perfect, and we'd like to keep working on it as the process goes along, so we've also added a reverse repealer. So that's a basic explanation of the bill.
Thank you, Senator Whaley. You've heard an explanation of the bill. Any questions? Senator Turner Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Whaley, is there any language in this bill that would establish a priority for how these parks, how funds will be dispersed to the different parks?
No, ma'am. There's no priority stated within this bill. However, when the projects are designated, when the projects are picked by the board itself, it comes back before the legislature to be approved for appropriations. So we would have another say in what was picked and what was not.
So before any, I guess whatever list of priority that's generated, it would come back before the legislature next year before any, or when would it come back before any funds are dispersed?
Yes, ma'am. On line 172, it says the board may provide its recommendation for assistance to the legislature, which may appropriate funds from the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Senator Turner Ford, do you have any more questions?
I do not. Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
thank you. Senator Delano.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Whaley, I know that this is a very important bill. A lot of people are very interested in, and I'm glad to see that we got this working through. Originally, there was some language in that allowed for this money to be used on private land. Is that language still in the bill?
No, sir, it is not. This is for public projects.
Okay, public projects only, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then of the voting membership, are there any qualifications for those board members that are prescribed in the bill?
No, sir.
So it's just 3 and 4, 3 appointments and then 4 appointments from
That's right.
the choice of the appropriate parties. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator. Other questions? Hearing none. Motion would be title sufficient, do pass, strike all. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
We've got one more bill on the agenda, and then I do have one other one that I want to bring up before we leave. House Bill 1290 is a request by the Attorney General to revise the salary limitations on certain attorneys within her office. Many of you know we've got a cap, with the exception of one state agency. There's a cap on the amount that can be paid and to any of the persons working within the office, and the Attorney General is apparently having difficulty getting some quality people to work, particularly in areas where they need some expertise. I've talked to several members of the committee about this. I know there have been some concerns about loosening up the restrictions on that, and I've heard a lot of different opinions about it. The proposal before you, the strike all before you, would allow the 2 deputies of the Attorney General and the 9 special assistant or assistant attorneys general to be paid up to 120% of the Attorney General's salary. Currently, the AG's salary is $108,960. The amount that they would be, the maximum amount that they could be paid to these 2 deputies and the special assistants would be $130,752. This is subject to State Personnel Board review, and it's also, they would have to allow it, the SPB would, and it's also based on the prevailing wage of the labor market. So it's not as though this is an automatic that the AG would be able to give this to the deputy attorney generals and attorneys general and the special assistants. So it would have to be approved and allowed by SPB. Furthermore, there's no additional funding. There's not any additional funding that's going to be put in the budget for this particular item. So the AG would have to make this work within the budget that she currently has, or that's appropriated, whatever we decide on. So that's what the strike all does. I know I've talked to many of you, and I'm happy to yield to questions about any of this if you would like. Any questions of committee members? If not, motion is title sufficient to pass strike all. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That bill will be reported. Finally, you should have a copy of House Bill 104 in front of you. There is a proposed strike all. This is passed through county affairs, and it relates to the Hancock County prosecuting attorney who is selected by the, not elected, but selected and appointed by the Board of Supervisors in Hancock County. Apparently, when this provision was placed into the statute several years ago, it's because of the uniqueness of the situation in Hancock County. The cap at that time for pay was $45,000, I believe. They're requesting to go up on this. What I would like to do, the proposal in front of you spells out that they can go up to an amount not to exceed 75% of the annual salary of the county court judge's salary. Obviously, that could be a moving target based on judicial pay. What I would like to do, and I don't want to have to send this back to county affairs, my proposal would be on the floor to offer an amendment to just strike this entire subsection dealing with Hancock County and put them in the same category that every other appointed prosecutor would have in the state of Mississippi. I'll do it either, I mean, we can do it one of two ways, at least on my preference. We can make the amendment now in the committee, and it's got to go back to Senator Hill's Committee on County Affairs, or I'm going to request that our staff prepare an amendment to be made on the floor, and I'll yield for questions at this time. Senator Moran.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. President. In doing so, making it uniform with the rest, the Board of Supervisors request could still go through? Yes,
it would be, if you look at Section 1 of the bill, that's for every other county in the state. All counties where there's no elected county prosecuting attorney, the Board of Supervisors shall have the power and authority to employ a competent attorney, compensations paid from the general fund of the county, et cetera.
That sounds good. I appreciate you not sending it back on a late day like this. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions about the strike-all proposal? If not, Senator Hill.
I was just going to say I'll be happy for you to make the amendment on the floor.
Okay. Is that, I'll take that as a motion to title sufficient to pass strike-all.
Do pass strike-all.
You heard Senator Hill's motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That bill will be reported. That concludes our work on House bills, and I thank you for your attention and time, and I'll entertain a motion to rise and report. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.